Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a reading about your divine feminine energy. So that doesn't mean it's just for women. I'm not talking about gender, but this is about what you need to work on with your divine feminine energy surrounding the situation that you're in. So for a lot of you, I feel like that's going to be symbolic of a love situation. And I just want to warn you that sometimes I mispronounce the words in this book and I struggle with it, so please be patient with me. But this one is, we're exploring the 4 aspects of the situation at hand. So we're going to be looking at what are you needing to embrace about this situation. And like I said, this is a divine feminine deck, so this is all about what divine feminine energy you need to embrace about this situation, what you need to face. So that will be about shadow. The second card will be about the shadows you need to face. How is your inner being affected by this situation? What aspect of your divine feminine energy is being affected? And then how are your outer circumstances affecting this situation? So we'll just jump right in. It's just going to be 4 cards unless extras pop out, which sometimes they like to do. And this book is this deck is the Goddess Within Oracle, Healing the Divine Feminine. And yeah, that's the spread I felt called to use for you today because like I said, I've been trying to do readings that aren't just about you and your person, but are more focused on you and your healing journey. So let's get into it. We'll shuffle the cards like we always do. So Spirit, we are looking at aspects of the divine feminine that the viewer needs to heal or understand. So let's have a look. One more shuffle. I always do 3. One more shuffle. Some of these cards I'm going to have to cover up because there is nudity on them and YouTube doesn't like that. There's actually one card that I had to remove because I did a reading with it once and YouTube didn't like it. So let's see what the viewer needs to understand here about healing their divine feminine. So, like I said, the first card we're going to get is, what do you need to embrace about this situation? So what do you need to embrace about this situation, whatever your situation is? It could be that your situation is that you are, single. It could be that you are in separation with someone. So let's have a look. What do you need to embrace about this situation? What energy do you need to embrace? I'm going to keep shuffling. That was a huge stack of cards. It could be your inner child that you need to embrace right now because too many cards came out. That was a card about embracing your inner child though. But let's see if it wants to come out again. So what does the viewer need to embrace? What energy does the viewer need to embrace? We have Hina or Hina, I don't know. So this is what you need to embrace. All right, I'm just gonna get, I need a bookmark. I'm going the wrong way. Maybe you're being protected because look at the card that I picked for a bookmark. I just picked it off the top of the deck. There we are. Examine the moon's current phase and reflect on its effect on your life, as you are also cyclic by nature. So I do talk about this, how the moon does affect the way we're feeling, and you can work with the moon. So with new moons, that is a really good time to set intentions. And some people like to write out their intentions and bury them. Some people like to set intentions and put them under their pillow. If you are putting them under your pillow, I suggest using clear quartz as well. Put a piece of clear quartz with your intentions in your pillow. And with the full moon, that energy is good for releasing. So a good thing to do is to sit under the full moon outside and write down everything you want to release. And then I'm a fan of safely burning it. If you live somewhere that's dry right now and there's a fire ban on, might not be a good idea. Where I am, we're having a drought. Could you imagine starting a fire and they show up to find you and they're like, "What were you doing?" I was releasing energy. Oh, that'd be funny. Anyway, full moons are excellent for releasing. So the moon is powerful, and I believe there's even some apps. Moonly is an app that every day it'll give you an update of how the moon's energy is affecting you and things you should avoid doing. But anyway, let's read this. So, Hawaiian lunar goddess Hina is said to reside within the moon. Originally, she lived on Earth, but grew tired of how her husband Maui, a trickster demigod, hello Moana, and her family treated her. According to Hawaiian legend, she packed up her belongings and left. Hina, also named Lady of the Moon, was curious about what it was like on the moon and paddled out towards it on her magical canoe until she reached it. Once she arrived, she was struck by the moon's tranquil beauty and decided to stay, becoming a protector of those who traveled at night. Hina is also associated with communication, cycles, and feminine strength. And this card is very connected to the moon, and she is connected to the moon, and that is divine feminine energy. So remember, this is what you need to embrace about this situation. So the message: in the ebony night skies, a full moon bathes the earth in silvery light. A lone wolf howls in the distance while a shepherd uses the lunar glow to illuminate his way as he travels in the cool night breeze. Elsewhere, two lovers, separated by distance, gaze at the moon's mystical beauty, feeling connected to each other, knowing that the other is seeing the same light. In another distant land, the children of a tribe sit by a fire as an elder recites a fable involving the moon to teach them ethics and morals, while a shaman conducts a ceremony to utilize the power of the full moon to release someone's anguish. Throughout history, the moon has held various cultural roles and meanings. Its energy has predominantly been associated with femininity, emotions, and the unconscious mind. In many cultures, it is a facet of the divine feminine, a goddess in her own right. The moon has been a timekeeper, light source, calendar, compass, tide tracker, and source of contemplation and mysticism. Her many powers provide development for humans as they learn about themselves through her ability to be a giant mystic mirror. Humans have always connected deeply with the moon, and it's time for you to harness your relationship with it now. Make it a habit to track the moon's cycles, and you will learn to honor your sleep, emotions, mood, and energy fluctuations. And your energy does fluctuate with the moon. And I used to think, I'd notice a change in my children and my animals, and I'd joke, like, what is it, a full moon or something? But it actually does affect your energy. So, I don't think you have to pay for Moonly to see how the energy affects you every day. I think you have to pay for it if you want to skip ahead and look at how the future coming days are going to affect you. But I think the basic version, it'll show you every day. It's just something to keep in mind because the moon is powerful and it does affect us. Being aware of her daily changes will benefit your mind, body, emotions, and spiritual self, reminding you of your natural rhythms and allowing you to maximize the benefit of living in a natural cycle, the ebb and flow of life. And you may even find that as you connect with the moon, if you are a woman with a cycle, you may notice that your cycle syncs up with the moon. That is something that happens with especially divine feminines. So what do you need to embrace about this situation? You need to embrace, I think it's worth noting that this goddess, this feminine, it talked about how it was almost giving me Eight of Cups energy, how she packed her bags and left and went on her own journey. So I think that you need to embrace the Fool's journey, which is what tarot is about. Embrace the unknown. And with all of the talk of the moon here, I think it would be a good idea for you to embrace the moon cycles and setting intentions and releasing. Like I said, set intentions on the new moon, release on the full moon. I believe it's a black moon on the 23rd, which is tomorrow. So maybe look up what the black moon means and rituals you can do with the black moon. You can also do things like if you have tarot cards or you have crystals, you can charge them in the moonlight. Now, getting to the meaning of the moon card, what do you need to embrace about this situation? I feel like whatever situation you're in, it was meant to help you hone and work on your intuition. And I always say intuition is like a muscle. And the more you work it and trust it, the stronger it becomes. And it can just be like little intuitive hits that you're getting. If you start to believe it and you start to follow that intuition, it does become stronger. Another thing about the moon is shadow work. So it could be because of this situation that you're meant to look at unhealed shadows that you have, or shadows that were triggered within this connection. And your shadows is where your light is. That's where you find your light, by going through your shadows. I feel really called to read you another card from a completely different deck for this one, for what you need to embrace about the situation. I am going to do it. Where are you? I've never even seen that card. Interesting. Where are you? It's my favorite card. Nourish the shadow. So I feel like I'm going to leave that here. And people find it funny how I say jaguar. That's how I say it, jaguar. And I'm always going to say it like that. But I feel like this is what you need to embrace. You need to nourish your shadow. So I think this is an important message to read to you. It's my favorite number too, 33. Nourish the shadow. Jaguar represents the shadow, the subconscious aspects of ourselves we push away. Carl Jung says these aspects usually stem from situations we encountered as children that lead us to feel shame, unworthiness, and abandonment. We then live out these programmed beliefs as adults. Jaguar comes to speak to us about nourishing our shadow. In this image, we see her drinking from the well of wholeness. The well in this image, inspired by analyst Marion Woodman, is our place of nourishment and absolute wholeness. And look at the moon behind it. Love it. Water is where all life comes from. Without it, we have no vitality. Many of us ignore and starve our shadow aspects because they cause us so much pain. We push them away and deeply criticize them. We chain our jaguar shadow and confine her to the furthest part of the backyard of our minds. She howls and cries for nourishment, yet we still ignore her. In her banishment, because of lack of love, her power grows as the master of self-sabotage. Ironically, if you would begin a relationship with her, you'd find that she is your greatest asset and leads to fulfilling your life's purpose. Funny that we instinctively banish her. Jaguar's medicine asks you to create a self-talk relationship with yourself and to ride the wave of hurt within. Every time a painful feeling arises, tell yourself, I'm right here to feel this with you. I accept this uncomfortable feeling and I will ride it out with you. I am here to feel this with you. If you do this, the emotion will always detox out and dissipate, leading to a much quicker healing. But you must be strong and endure the pain. Commit to riding the waves of emotion together within yourself. This is the nourishment your Jaguar shadow requests. If you witness her, she will start showing you a new and indestructible power within. Your shadow is where your diamond lies. So I'm going to keep that card because, like I said, that's one of my favorite cards. And I'm also going to see in this deck, do I want to use this deck? Or do I want to use that other deck? Maybe I want to use that other deck. This reading is taking a strange turn. All right. Whoops, it's upside down. There is a shadow card in here. The Dark Veil. The Universe, Shadow Work. So we're doing a deep dive here. So these are the things that you need to embrace. Illumination, balance, synergy, healing, acceptance. And questions that you can ask yourself, journal about. What deeper habits are ready for my awareness? So you could have things in your life, bad habits, or, shadows that you haven't been ready to face. And maybe you kind of know about them, but you haven't been ready, like especially with habits, you haven't been ready to own those habits and overcome them. Where is my shadow presenting itself the most? So for some of you, it could be in, it could be in romantic relationships. It could be in friendships. To confront a person with their shadow is to show them their own light. So I'm going to read this shadow work for you. Does it go on to another page? It does. So strap in and let me talk to you. Should I find the card? Yeah, we're winging it in this reading. And this deck is called the Moonchild Tarot, the Shadow Edition, which is probably why I was drawn to it, with this card coming out first. And my readings are intuitive, so I'm being intuitively called to do this, so that's what I'm going to do. Oh, where are you? I can't find my shadows. Shadow work. I never used to laugh before I faced my shadows. Fun fact. So shadow work, just so that you can look at it while I read to you. Within each of us is a shadow self, a multifaceted inner vessel of the pains, traumas, fears, and suppressions we have experienced throughout life. Very often, we may think of the shadow as something negative or malevolent. Is that how you say it? As the word itself conjures up themes of darkness or fear. But if we look closer, we may find that our shadows are the ultimate liberators, acting as the most profound catalysts for aligning with our own truth. Like the dark matter of our universe, dreams and seeds of light may be cultivated here. Healing and creation is birthed through cycles and doorways of revolutionary change. Our shadows can help anchor our own brilliance and self-worth in teaching us to rise and transmute from the ashes that divide us from within. This may happen when we release our hidden burdens or remove the masks of the personas we continuously hide behind, allowing us to dive deeper within the waters of our own heart. The obscured aspects of our subconscious also show us where our thoughts or habits have become entrenched or addictive over time, which is helpful when looking at how and where we may need to make some profound changes in our life. When we are born, we are new to the world and our shadows have yet to fully form. As we grow, we begin to see ourselves as separate and individual from the people around us, which eventually accumulates pieces of the identities that define us, and in the process, our shadows and ego take shape. We then begin to judge and survey everything around us from our own unique lens, what is good, bad, right, or wrong, and what we consider to be true and sacred in life. Very often, these standards are also reinforced by our family of origin, which can leave a lasting impression on our view of the world, prompting us to project our lens onto others over time. In order to bring our hidden facets, qualities, or dreams to light, we can delve into shadow work, a concept coined by the renowned psychologist Carl Jung, which describes the process of exploring our suppressed ideas, desires, feelings, traits, gifts, talents, or belief systems that we have either consciously or unconsciously hidden within ourselves. These may also be the facets of our human experience that are locked away, waiting to be regenerated or healed. Shadow work gives us an opportunity to explore the contrasts within our lives that have taught us the most profound lessons along the way, the moments that redefine us as stronger, wiser, and softer through our struggles and shortcomings. I just started hearing a song. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Anyway, I love that song. When we recognize the raw, heartfelt strength we encompass as a result of how far we have been pushed. When we rise in courage or love through experiencing fear or heartache. When we take less for granted after our sense of comfort or security has been challenged or reduced. The shadow also shows us where we are harboring suppressed dreams or inner creative urges that we have never had a chance to explore due to the internal or external struggles in our life that has held us back. This can lead to fractures within our energetic health, which can be very depleting to our vitality and spirit. If you feel like this might be true for you, it is time to consider what you feel is missing and how you can support these dreams or incomplete pieces. Take a moment to reflect with gentle care by listening to what wants to come out or be expressed. So for some of you, I feel like this is also about embracing, especially if you're on the divine feminine journey, this is also about embracing your mission. All right, so that's enough of that, but I felt called to read you that. All right, so the next card is about what do you need to face about this situation? What do you need to face about this situation? Oh my gosh, I've got decks everywhere piled up. So what does the viewer need to embrace about this situation, which is connected to the shadow? So just keep in mind that it's about the shadow. So what do you need to embrace? What do you need to face? This is about what you need to embrace, which is actually shadow work and working with the moon. This is what you need to face. The Morrigan. I've got cards falling everywhere. Oh my goodness. All right. The Morrigan. Kind of reminds me of the Magician. The Morrigan. Is it under the? Yes. Embrace the element of mystery. Let go of any need to predict the future and enjoy the surprises life brings. So what you need to face now is releasing control. What you need to face right now is that you don't know how everything is going to play out. And that's part of the divine feminine journey, is surrendering control and attracting in what is for your highest good. So that's what you need to face right now. That may be a shadow that you're struggling with right now to face. But this period of uncertainty, I love how all of these readings kind of coincide with each other that I've been doing. Because that moon one that I did talked about embrace the uncertainty. You don't know where this path is leading right now. And that doesn't just have to be about the connection, or if you're single, your future love life. This is about not needing to know how everything's going to play out and enjoying the journey. And I feel like so many people are in a rush to get to the end of the journey, that they're missing everything that happens along the journey, all the people you meet, all the experiences you have, the awakenings. All right. The Morrigan, translating to Phantom Queen, is the Celtic goddess of war, death, and destiny. So right now, you may need to face the ending of something. She is a triple goddess associated with life and death, the cycle of life. During times of war, the Morrigan would have premonitions predicting the demise of specific soldiers. Able to turn the tides of battle, she would shapeshift into a raven, a symbol of war and death, and fly over said soldiers' heads to mark their fate. This would either instill fear in the heart of the soldiers or spur them on to fight harder for their life. She is the personification of the dark feminine, vindictive, unyielding, and ever powerful. The message: imagine that you have been handed the book of your life and have sat down and read everything that will happen until your death. You are now privy. Imagine being able to do that. My ego right away was like, I would love to do that. I would love to know what happens. I just want to say something before I flip the page, though. Think about like time travel movies, or movies about your fate and your destiny, and how there is a message that if you knew what was going to happen, you may do things that alter your destiny. So in a way, it's good that we don't know. But anyway, you are now privy to each moment you will experience, the good, the bad, and the surprises. Now moving forward, imagine living the rest of your life knowing what each moment holds before it happens. Would the surprises feel elating? Would the goals achieved feel thrilling? Would the moments with lovers feel the same if you knew what would happen? Would each joke give you the same belly laugh if you heard it ahead of time? Mystery is, and like, think about movies. Maybe you're someone who likes spoilers. Some people like spoilers. But like, if you go to watch a movie and someone spoiled the end and you know how it's going to end, you're expecting it the whole time. The movie that I always use as an example is The Sixth Sense. So before I watched that movie, someone told me the premise of that movie and the point of that movie. So throughout the whole movie, I knew what was happening, and it was like, it wasn't the same, you know? So it's actually a gift to not know how your life is going to unfold. And think of it, if you had a book telling you at this age, you're going to go through this traumatic experience, and then you purposely, the lake house. Anyway, the movie The Lake House. All of these experiences shape who you are. Like, if I hadn't been through all the trauma I went through as a child, I wouldn't be who I am today. So in a way, I'm thankful for every experience, good and bad, that I've had in my life. If I hadn't been through that trauma as a child, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you. You know? Anyway. Mystery is a crucial element of life that humans are lucky to have. You may feel as though you are walking through a maze with a blindfold, not knowing what is in front of you. Although overwhelming, this unknown is what makes life magical. Without it, you would be bored out of your mind with no zest for life and no desire to test your creative ability. Picture the beauty of having your favorite book from childhood cleared from your mind and rereading it for the first time. That is the gift you hold, the gift of knowing that some of the most exciting moments of your life are still ahead of you. You have not yet met all the people who will love you and you have not yet discovered everything that will bring you joy. Journey into the mystery. All you need to know is that your story continues. Enjoy the ride. I love that. I love it. That didn't bring to mind any other card to read to you though, so I'm just going to continue on. But that's what you need to face right now. Is that just because you don't know how it's all going to play out, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And come at it instead of looking at it, well, what else could go wrong? Or what if I end up alone? Or what if this never happens? Or what if I go after my soul's mission and I'm a complete failure? Spin the narrative like we were talking about yesterday. Look at it as, what if everything turns out better than I ever imagined? What if I experience friendships, that are more beautiful than any other friendship I've ever experienced? What if I end up feeling more love than I've ever felt in my entire life? What if at the end of this journey, I finally know what it's like to love myself? Like, look at it like that. Instead of saying, what's the worst that can happen? Say, what's the best that can happen? And really enjoy the journey. Because I think it would change how we approach things and enjoy things if we knew what was going to happen. Because you'd constantly be waiting for that other shoe to drop because you know it's going to drop, right? So that's what you need to face right now. You need to face the uncertainty and embrace the journey. All right. So how is your inner being affected by this situation? Your inner being. How is your inner being? I don't know if that's straight or not. I can't see through my phone camera holder thing. How is your inner journey being affected by this situation? How is your inner journey being affected by this situation? I love it. We're getting cards that we've never gotten before. Love that. And as I was saying that, froggy in my throat. So one of the things that it's affecting in your inner journey is you're learning how to release, cleanse, and heal with that frog energy that I'm getting. So we have Aphrodite. Beautiful. All right. Aphrodite. You're this way. All right, this is beautiful. So, whatever, those crows are outside again. Today when I was outside doing my steps, I go up and down my stairs, as I was saying. I have the same two crows that always come to see me while I'm doing my steps, which I think is really cool. I almost took a picture for you, but I was too into my steps. But you may, this situation that you're in may be affecting you in a negative way, but it's allowing you to release, cleanse, and heal, which is, I said I had that froggy in my throat. So it may feel, my kids are so loud. It may feel, I'm seeing the vulture card. So it may feel on an inner level that it's a tragedy, that it hurts, but it's actually a blessing in disguise because it's allowing you to heal and cleanse and release, maybe even focus on self-love with this image. It's very much giving me Queen of Cups energy. And actually, when this card came out, I went silent for a minute because I did get kind of a download about self-love and accepting yourself. And it was more so, like when I get downloads, sometimes they come in as a reminder or me remembering something from my journey or a way that my journey has shifted me. So one thing I wanted to mention, I went silent because I wasn't sure if I wanted to mention it, but now I'm going to mention it. One thing, awakening, one thing my journey has done for me is it has taught me self-love and taught me to accept myself. And I spent most of my life comparing myself to everyone around me. And I actually was very, I was very judgmental towards women. And I was very threatened by other women, especially the way they looked. And I definitely had a guard up when it came to women. There was like jealousy, there was almost resentment and judgment towards other women, to the point where if I was in a room, and I can't believe I'm telling you this because I don't talk about this to anyone, but if I was in a room with like my partner and there were other women in the room, I would feel very uncomfortable and I would feel beneath all the other women, and I'd feel very self-conscious, and I'd be comparing myself to every other woman in the room. I would be, worried that my partner was looking at those women. And that's one thing that I just thought of, that I'm very thankful for this journey, because it's taught me how to accept myself and not compare myself to others and not judge others. And now I can really appreciate other women. I no longer feel that competitiveness. Anyway, I was just thinking about that when that card came out, that I'm thankful for that, because it wasn't nice. It really wasn't nice being in that lower vibrational energy where I was threatened by women just because I didn't feel good about myself. I was threatened by every other woman. And now I can really appreciate other women, and it just feels very different because I love myself and I accept myself. So I don't know, maybe someone out there resonates with that, which is why I felt called to talk about it. So this is what this situation is doing for your inner being. Okay? So this heartbreak, use your heartbreak to heal, dive into your heart, feel your pain, and emerge with an openness to love. So this situation is actually cracking you open. It's actually, allowing you to dive deep and heal and embrace your shadows and open yourself up to love, even if it's like friendship love. In the Greek pantheon, Aphrodite is heralded as the goddess of love, passion, lust, sexuality, and beauty. Aphrodite, that protection card just fell on the floor. So I do feel like right now you are being protected. Also healing the parts of you that you protect, that you maybe keep shut off, closed away. Aphrodite emerged from the white foam stirred up in the sea by the severed genitalia. Oh dear. I'm sorry, YouTube, it's in the book. Of the sky god, or Uranus. I don't know how to say that either. Born from the ocean, she is worshipped as a sea and seafaring goddess. Aphrodite is associated with the element of water, representing emotions, and with Venus, the planet of love and beauty. Although many tales are told about Aphrodite, none are more sought than her own love affairs. Some of her lovers include Ares, the god of war, Adonis, the god of beauty and desire, and Anchises, I don't know how to say that either, I'm sorry, a mortal Trojan prince. The message: your ability to love brings your life meaning and joy, but it can also be a source of immense pain. During times of heartbreak, you may feel that the grief will split you in two, and that you may vow never to put yourself in that position again. It is understandable to want to shield your heart and protect it. If you never loved, you would never feel heartbreak, yet you would never truly live. And I see some people talk about this. You can use love as an example. You can use pets as an example. There are a lot of people out there that will say, I want a pet, but eventually they pass away and I don't want to experience that grief. And the sad thing is that, is it hard when they pass away? Yes. But their love stays with you forever. Like I have no regrets about the animals, and they're my soulmates, soul tribe, my animals. I have no regrets about the animals that I've had in my life that have now passed on. And I know the animals I have now will someday pass on, but then their love lives on in you forever. And sometimes you hear people talk about love like that. Love just leaves, so why bother? Anyway. Allow yourself a period of retreat to process your feelings of grief, betrayal, and disappointment. Seek space to turn inward as you hold yourself through grieving the loss of the future you imagined. Reach out to your loved ones when needed, communicate how they can help you feel connection, and love as you adjust to your loss, hugs, quality time, or talking. Heartbreak serves a purpose. It is a cleanser, a healer, a teacher, and a fortifier. A heart in pain breaks open, allowing you to mend what is within. It rips you wide open and brings to the surface emotional pain connected not only to this situation, but also to childhood, past relationships, and even past lives. Feeling the pain deeply allows cleansing and healing. A heart that can be... Just 1 minute. Okay. I just opened the door and I'm like, my darling children. I was like, I love that you're having fun, but could we have fun without the screaming? Where was I? Feeling the pain deeply allows cleansing and healing. A heart that can be reknit and fortified in strength becomes resilient. Heartbreak teaches you how to love and discern where to place your love. When moving forward, you have two choices. Be brave and keep your heart as a flower in bloom. Or my kids are having a good time. Or close it down and become hardened. The bravery is well worth it. Love after heartbreak runs stronger than ever before. All right. Just a little insight into my children and their noise. When I was a child, I got punished for making noise, even when it was happy noise. There would be doors slamming, there would be yelling. So that's one thing I try not to do with my kids, is to get frustrated with them or get mad at them or tell them to stop when it's happiness. I just told them, I'm like, you can still have fun, you can still laugh, but could we just tone down the screaming a little? All right. Oops, I lost my page. So next, we are looking at how your outer circumstances may be affected or are affecting your situation. All right. What do we have? We have Mary Magdalene. All right. How did I know that card was going to come out again? So let me think about this for a minute. How are your outer circumstances affecting the situation? Walu is connected to the inner child. Spirit's giving me nothing right now. Let's read Mary Magdalene, and I'll come back to this card. I'll come back to that card. It could be that this situation, okay, I got one. There we go. Thank you, Spirit. It could be because this is about how your outer circumstances are being affected by this situation. So for some of you, it could have to do with children, because right before I shuffled this card, I was telling you about my children and about, happy noises, and how when I grew up, I was punished for the happy noises, and I learned to play very small, keep quiet. But what I was hearing for this is this situation could have affected how you show up for your children. So if you are going through some sort of heartbreak, or you were in a situation that was emotionally draining, or a situation that didn't make you feel very good, it could have affected your outer world when it came to your children and the way you were showing up for your children. And children can read energy. Children can definitely read energy. So your children might have noticed a change in you, or it could have changed the way that you were, like I said, showing up for your kids. Maybe you had less energy, or they noticed a shift in your mood. The other thing is you could have been in a situation that was affecting, I know it says outer circumstances, but it could have been triggering your inner child. And I'm kind of imagining I know it says outer circumstances, but I'm kind of imagining you as a child outside of your body. So I am talking about the inner child. Hopefully this makes sense, but I'm seeing you as a child. So this situation could have affected or triggered childhood wounds. The other thing I was seeing is, one of the things I always talk about is when we're children and we're in a bad situation, or we're being neglected, or our needs aren't being met, or we're at home and we're walking on eggshells, learning how to conform so that we don't, anger anyone. We can't just remove ourselves from that situation. We can't set boundaries. We're children. And a lot of parents, expect their children to conform. They see them as you need to do this. You need to follow in my footsteps. It's my house, my rules. You'll do what I say. And so as a child, you can't really set boundaries, and you can't just pack a suitcase and leave. Maybe you daydream about it, but you can't do it because you're a child. You don't have the means to take care of yourself. So as an adult, when you're in a situation where you're being hurt, or your boundaries are being crossed, or you're being disrespected, or you're being neglected, this situation could have affected you to the point where it was triggering those childhood wounds, and perhaps you fell back into that pattern as a child, feeling powerless, feeling like you couldn't put up boundaries, like you couldn't leave, like you were stuck. There's something about the situation triggering your inner child, even though it's talking about outer circumstances. And maybe you're someone who, your inner child likes to do certain things like painting and having stuffed animals around, or having hundreds of tarot cards. And maybe the situation you were in, insert whatever belongs there for you, something that speaks to your inner child that you wanted to do, or that you had around your house. And maybe for some reason this situation you were in, the person you were connected to, maybe they didn't want those things around, or maybe you lost the desire to do those things. Blink twice if I'm making sense, please, because that's the download I'm getting. Anyway, let's move on. So Mary Magdalene, I actually don't know anything about Mary Magdalene, so this should be enlightening. I definitely feel like this situation affected your inner child, though. Like maybe you just lost your spark. Like I said, maybe it started affecting the way you were showing up for your children. Maybe you were having a hard time like playing with your kids because of this heartbreak you were going through, right? And playing with your kids, you know what? When I was younger and I was a nanny for a very long time to a wonderful family. And I had this crappy boyfriend. And anytime him and I were going through like fighting and stuff like that, I loved going to work because playing with kids can really raise your vibration and it can kind of take your mind. I'm not saying as a distraction, but it can actually take your mind off of the heaviness you're feeling. So if you are having a hard time, you know, interacting with your children right now or playing, maybe try, you know. I know maybe you don't, like if you're feeling heavy and sad, maybe it's hard for you. But after a while, it does raise your vibration. You know, go out, if you have a trampoline, go jump on the trampoline with your kids. I hope that download resonated with somebody. So this is how it's affecting your outer world. Reflect on the lessons your relationships bring into your life to maximize the catalyst they may be for you. So that's really interesting because right before I shuffled these cards out, for no reason, I felt called to talk about explaining what just happened with my kids and about how I learned from my relationship with my parents that when I was making happy noises and squealing and having a good time with my sister, the reaction was doors slamming or being yelled at. You're being too loud. I'm trying to work. And being made to feel bad for like having fun. And again, I wouldn't be the person I am or the parent I am without all those things I went through as a child. And all those things I went through as a child, when I became a mother, I knew that I wanted to do it differently. And there was one distinct moment that I remember where I knew I had to change because I have two sets of twins. I have two sets of twins born 2 years apart. So I had like 6-month-old babies and 2.5-year-olds or something. And they had made a mess in the playroom and I was cleaning that day. So I went around the entire house cleaning, started with the playroom. By the time I had finished the entire house, and it took me a few hours, and I got back down to the playroom, there were toys everywhere again. And I was triggered. And all of a sudden, my father came out of my, like, I was my father. Like, I had turned into my father. And I was very upset. And I'm like, I'm really not proud of it, but I'm going to talk about it. And I said, you want to make a mess? I can make a mess too. And I took a bunch of toys and dumped them on the floor. And then I said something like, why don't I just get a garbage bag and get rid of all these toys? And when I looked at one of my kids and I saw how they were looking at me, I knew like, oh my gosh, I'm my father. Like I felt very triggered. And it was that afternoon that I started therapy. Like, I was like, I cannot do this to my kids. I do not want them to grow up like this. And now I'm a completely different parent. But without that lesson, without those lessons I learned growing up, who knows what kind of parent I would be right now. Anyway, and this isn't me just trying to talk about myself. A lot of readers, that's how they get downloads. They're reminded of like situations from their past because it's part of their journey. But anyway, so, and those lessons that I learned affect my outer world now with my children. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, reflect on the lessons your relationships bring into your life to maximize the catalyst they may be for you. So not only is this situation meant to change your inner world and help you embrace your shadows and embrace uncertainty and heal, it's also meant to affect your outer world by being the catalyst for change. Mary of Magdala is the epitome of the repressed divine feminine. Although she has been given many roles and names throughout time, for the most part, her story has been kept out of the history books. Mary has been called a prostitute and a sinner and has not been adequately portrayed for the role she played during the time of Yeshua. In modern times, it is speculated that she was Yeshua's wife and one of his most devout disciples? Anyway, she showed devotion by anointing him with spikenard oil and washing his feet with her hair. It is said that Mary was one of the first to witness Yeshua after his resurrection. She is influenced in the return of the divine feminine through teaching and leadership. Her story will be told. The message: just as souls come in infinite divine forms, so do soul connections and relationships. All relationships are sacred as each is an embodiment of teacher and student. The container of a relationship is our grandest catalyst for growth, learning, and spiritual maturing. Even though all relationships are sacred, staying in a relationship with poor treatment is not advised, nor is it healthy. Sometimes growth and learning occur from walking away. And I saw something really interesting yesterday. It was someone who, deals with soul contracts. And she was saying, just because you detach and walk away does not mean your story with that person is over. It doesn't mean that you've severed the contract, but it allows the space for that person to come in differently and more evolved and more mature, and if not them, someone else to come in. She sounded like she was a little bit of Mary Magdalene. Sounds like she was, the way this first part talks about her, it sounds like she put up with poor treatment and she put up with less than she deserved. And that she kind of put him up on a pedestal is what it sounds like to me. Throughout your lifetime, relationships will show up in various forms, such as mother, child, friend, or through different types of lovers. The three components of love, passion, commitment, and intimacy, allow for endless combinations of expression. Lovers experiencing the fiery lightning bolt of passion flying between them, a long-time married couple with infinite commitment who have grown together throughout a lifetime of shared memories, or a dear soulmate with open vulnerability and emotional intimacy. At different stages of life, a particular flavor of love satisfies a need or lesson. Perhaps at one stage, a passionate soul connection comes into your life as a lover and helps you to heal and grow your sexuality. At another point on your journey, a loving, soothing partner enters as a gentle soulmate relationship to ease open your heart. Then there are the connections who come steamrolling into your life to serve as kind of a microscope, rife with emotion and growth, sometimes teaching you the most about your relationship with yourself causing you to choose yourself even when they don't. Journey forward knowing that each of your relationships, the good, the heartbreaking, and the frustrating, are leading you to the mastery of the all-encompassing, power-loaded, how do you say that word? Agape? Help me, AGAPE. The selfless, unconditional love that helps people to forgive, respect, and serve one another day in and day out. Interesting. All right, and I'm also going to read you this Wallow card since it came out. Connect with your inner child to access your past hurts and current joys. The mythology of Australia's first peoples, known as the Dreaming, dates back 65,000 years. It centers around the belief that the earth is continually being created by dreaming spirits, the physical embodiments of the animals, people, and various aspects of the land. In the dreaming of the Yolngu people, Wallow is heralded as Sun Woman. Wallow and her daughter Bara, journeyed through the sky daily, spreading heat wherever they passed. One day, Wallow realized their combined heat not only provided warmth, but scorched the lands, making the earth too hot. Wallow made the difficult choice to send her daughter back east while she continued journeying to the west to bring back the sun and ensure the earth's fertility persevered. Your inner child is the gateway to accessing your deepest emotions and richest joys. Due to the nature of living in a dual plane, designed for learning and growth, humans are like children, even when fully grown. You are here in a state of spiritual amnesia to develop wisdom while seeking your needs to be met, just like your child counterparts. Unfortunately, adults are not treated with the same level of gentleness and understanding as children. If you struggle to love yourself, practice the art of self-soothing via the medium of the inner child. It can feel easier to speak to your inner child with tenderness when you are not used to positive self-talk. When you are scared, place your hand over your heart and say, I know you are scared and that's okay. I'm going to protect you. I'm asking you to be brave and do this scary thing because you will feel so proud of yourself after. When you feel sad, use words like, I know you are disappointed and so sad right now and you are allowed to be. I will hold space for this feeling. Eventually, your inner being will be so supported that this practice will create an automated feeling of safety. If you did not have a positive childhood home, consciously choosing to become your parent can assist you with working through the pain of the past. And I am someone who's been reparenting myself. So maybe you're someone who's been reparenting yourself or needs to reparent yourself. And sometimes when I know that I'm in a situation that's not good, but I'm like in this people-pleasing energy, it's actually easier for me to think about my inner child and choose my inner child or choose to protect my inner child over like being that people pleaser or over that fear of being alone, if that makes sense. Working with the inner child can also be a direct source of experiencing joy. Part of the experience that Earth has to offer is enjoying the little pleasures of creation. Be present with your inner child and make time to partake in activities for the sake of joy, not just for productivity. So for some of you, this situation could have affected you to the point where you were always trying to like bend or please someone, meet someone else halfway, and you kind of started abandoning yourself, abandoning your workouts, abandoning your hobbies. Yeah. So, my beautiful friends, I'm going to leave it here because I think I talked enough at you. But thank you for joining me for this reading. And as always, I am sending you lots of love and light, and I will talk to you soon, my besties. Bye.